Well, for more on this, and it's totally relevant, let's bring in the House Republican whip, Tom Emmer of Minnesota. Sir, it's good to see you. All right, let's talk about the timing here. I know you guys have had a few successful votes already in the House this year, defying expectations. You've got 2 new votes in your column thanks to the specials this week in Florida. What do you anticipate happening next week? Let's start there. How confident are you? What about some of the potential naysayers we're hearing about?
Well, if you're talking about, and good to see you, Guy, and Dagan, great to be with you. If you're talking about the budget resolution that's going to be passed out of the Senate in the next 24 to 48 hours, whatever it is, what I expect is Leader Thune and Mike Johnson are making the call, and it'll be our job to execute it. And as you pointed out, we've had some other naysayers with the initial budget resolution and with the continuing resolution. Don't underestimate the House. We have defied expectations. I do not underestimate what we can do.
On that note, and Jody Arrington of the Budget Committee, the chair there, a Republican from Texas, over in the House, and not to call out Congressman Arrington, but he said that some of the fiscal hawks, the deficit hawks in the House would have tremendous concerns about the Senate only including like nominal cuts in spending with this promise from senators, the way that Lindsey Graham is handling it. Oh, we'll get to the big capital T $1 trillion spending cuts at a later date. Is that going to be, I don't want to use the word insurmountable, but how much of a hurdle will that be when back in the House?
Well, remember, when we passed the budget resolution in the House, we had a group of members who believed that the numbers in that budget resolution are the floor and that you dial up more savings and cuts from there. We have another group of members who believe that was the ceiling and you dial it down. This is just the art of negotiation. And Jody Arrington's done an amazing job. Yep. His whole budget committee's done an amazing job. But they are just unlocking the door to the next step, which you were just talking about with Chad. This is not the budget. These are just the instructions. What will happen next, assuming the House and the Senate can reach an agreement on this, we pass it out of the House next week, then you'll be off to writing the bill. And under the instructions from the House, we'll have 11 committees that will be writing a piece of this bill, and we will still be on track to meet Mike Johnson's deadline, which is having a bill to the president's desk by Memorial Day.
Okay, because on that point, I had Speaker Johnson, spoke to him on the radio weeks ago. He felt like you guys could get this done, finalized this spring. Because I think to viewers, they're interested in the day-to-day, but ultimately the question is, when will that big pointy signature of Donald Trump be on paper to add some stability here? Is that realistic, really, May, still on this timeline?
Well, I think you've got to stick with it, Guy. If you say it's not realistic, you're not going to meet it. You have to have a deadline, and you have to hit that deadline. And I think Mike Johnson should be commended for setting the most aggressive timeline possible. The Senate doesn't have the same challenges that the House does. You got a lot of money that's sitting on the sidelines waiting to get involved in new growth in this country, economic growth, but they're not coming off the sidelines until they know what the tax policy is going to be in 2026. And for those people that are familiar with campaigns, you know we have a midterm coming. Typically, tax policy does not hit Main Street with full force and effect for 12 to 18 months after it has been signed into law. The case in point was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was signed into law in December of 2017. The full benefit of that law was not hitting Main Street until after the 18 midterms. So it's imperative that Mike Johnson keep us on this timeline and that we get it done.
Well, do you and all of the members of the Republican caucus feel the heat now? Because the fire is burning under your seats with what's going on. And this is one part of the Trump agenda, but with the tariffs that were announced in the middle of the week, the market is in tatters. There's a lot of concern around the country. And you better think about getting it done sooner than even has been forecast. I don't know if that's possible, but do you feel the urgency, Majority Whip?
Dagan, no question. I think everybody in Congress since November 5th has felt the urgency. This country needed a new start. They needed somebody who was going to put Americans first again, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. As far as us, we're going to continue to stay the course and get this stuff done. You just watch. This is imperative that we get it finished, and this is what the American public elected Donald Trump for, and that's why they elected us, to enact Trump's agenda, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
And to avoid the biggest tax increase in American history, which is what's coming if it doesn't get done. So,
well, and bigger tax cuts.
Yeah.
More, especially with tariff revenue coming in. Maybe.
You know, but Dagan, that's a great point, and Guy, but everybody keeps talking about tax cuts. The tax policy that we have been living under has been in place for 7 years. This is simply continuing current tax policy, and as Guy points out, if you don't continue the current tax policy, all Americans, and that's why people know that this argument about billionaires, et cetera, we're not changing anything. If it stays the same, guess what? All Americans benefit. If it doesn't stay the same, it's a $4 to $5 trillion tax increase on all Americans.
Majority Whip Tom Emmer, thank you, sir. I'm talking about the extra stuff. The more. Thank you, sir. We'll see you soon.